Yo, what is going on, everyone? Reg here, coming at you today with another student-centered video here on the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about finding the main idea in a given passage or in a longer passage. This video is really going to help anyone who's looking to be an active critical reader, anyone who's struggling with reading comprehension, anyone who is also about to take on a standardized test potentially. So let's go into it by starting with how we're going to approach this. All right, we're going to take a potential three-step approach, but keep in mind that there are multiple ways of doing this, and you may already have a way of getting the main idea from a passage that works for you. So if you already have a way that works, use that. You don't have to use a new strategy just for the sake of a new strategy. Also, keep in mind that we have a video on the channel that talked about identifying the topic sentence of a given paragraph, right? So, if we were to identify those ideas within a paragraph, it helped us understand the broader passages of text. And that's what we're looking to do today. We're looking to find that main idea in a big passage of text. So, if you were struggling finding the topic sentence in a paragraph, feel free to check out our previous video. But again, today we're going to be looking at finding the main idea in a passage. And we're going to do that by taking this three-step approach. Step one, read the first paragraph and take note of the first two sentences. So we'll look at the first paragraph, we'll pay particular attention to those first two sentences, then we're going to read the first two sentences of the paragraphs that follow, and then we're going to read the final paragraph and take note of the last sentence. You'll note there that it doesn't say that we're going to read the entire passage. Again, this is a strategy that may or may not work for you, so just keep that in mind as we move forward here. But without further ado, let's go right into an example together. So let's start. Oh boy. All right. Our first step says to begin by carefully reading the first paragraph. So let's do it. The Crusades failed to accomplish their primary objective of conquering and holding the Holy Land. Like many great movements, however, the Crusades produced a number of additional and unexpected results. First, the Crusades weakened the feudal nobility. Thousands of knights died in battle or lost their lives from disease. In addition, many knights had sold or mortgaged their properties to finance their expeditions. Led by France, European monarchs successfully took advantage of the nobles' misfortune by strengthening royal power. Okay, let's look at the first two sentences of the first paragraph because that's our first step here. Failed to accomplish the so it says the first sentence talks about how the Crusades failed to accomplish their primary objective, and then the second sentence talks about how even though they failed or the Crusades failed their primary objective, it did have a number of additional or unexpected results. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. We're talking about how the Crusades failed their primary objective, but it did have unintended consequences or results. All right, that's our first step. Our second step says to read the first two sentences of each additional paragraph. So the second paragraph starts with second. The two centuries of religious warfare not only promoted hostility between Christians and Muslims, but also increased tensions between Christians and Jews, and angry mobs attacked Jewish communities that were often used as scapegoats for social problems. Okay, there's only two sentences in that paragraph, so we'll just jump right to the next one. Third, the Fourth Crusade dealt a serious blow to the Byzantine Empire. Although Constantinople regained its independence, it never recovered its former power or prestige. Again, third paragraph only has two sentences as well, and those sound like just like additional details almost. Maybe some of those unexpected results or additional consequences, but we'll dive back into that once we get to the end of the passage here. And our third and final step is to read the last paragraph, paying special attention to the last, or special attention to our final sentence here. And the last paragraph says this. And finally, the Crusades played a major role in stimulating trade between Europe and the Middle East. While living in the Holy Land, the Crusaders acquired a taste for new spices, foods, and clothes. Many Crusaders brought home samples of these products. Okay, so we've gone through our three-step system, and now we need to figure out what the major purpose of the passage is. All right. Also, let's take note of the last sentence. Many Crusaders brought home samples of these products. Again, sounds like we're alluding to another unintended consequence or result of the Crusades. So let's see if we can kind of tie all this together and figure out what the major purpose of the passage is out of the options on the right-hand side here. Option 1 says the major purpose of the passage is to assess the impact of increased trade upon European life. Well, not really, right? When we look at this, that really only talks about, well, it doesn't really, we don't talk about the impact of increased trade upon European life. Um, it just, it says it stimulated trade, but it doesn't talk about the increased trade upon European life. So that kind of goes beyond what the passage is offering. So I would just eliminate that first option, right? So let's look at the next two. The second option is explain why nobility lost power. And that's another one that only applies to the first paragraph, I believe. Yes. So if you look at the first paragraph, that only applies to that. So I would just eliminate that answer as well. Our third option says evaluate how the Fourth Crusade impacted the Byzantines. Again, not the overarching main idea of the passage, maybe the main idea of the third paragraph, but not of the whole passage. And then we have our kind of final two options, and we need to really carefully consider these. So the first of which says show how the Crusades promoted understanding between Christians and Jews. That's an inaccurate statement, right? If you look at the second paragraph talks about the hostility, the social problems that came from it. So that is an inaccurate statement, which leaves us with our final option, which is discuss the long-term effects of the Crusades, which means that this is definitely our best option. It summarizes the major purpose of the passage, and it really encapsulates everything. And we found that through our three-step strategy. So that's where we're going to end it today. That is how you find the main the main idea or the main purpose of a big long passage here. If you have any questions on this, if you have any comments or suggestions on how to do this a different way, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. If you would like to see more from this source, please feel free to leave a comment as well, and we can always go back into it again. Again, I thank you though so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week